Hot springs and
Good job. So good. Really? Ready when you are, Larry, so much.
Well, it's still 5:20. We'll wait till 5:30.
Erin, I gave your number to my dad because they're.
And we have nobody online.
No,
Or no?
not yet.
They're redoing their whole house, but they're on
Probably
the
back on
septic
that.
system, like, before you. do
Okay,
anything,
it's
tell me.
5:30.
Erin is a. septic
You all ready to get rolling?
No. It's over there.
It's, oops, it's
Oh,
5.
here, he can.
Yeah, you're gonna.
Slide it, slide it over. Thank you.
It's 5:30 on the 24th of August, and we'll call this meeting of the Planning Commission to order. As far as attendees, today we have Mary, Bob, Sarah, Megan, and Aaron. So we're missing Randy to
And he has to be excused.
yeah. And we'll roll into citizens to be heard, and I think we have nobody online voting and nobody else in the meeting. So we'll move on to ex parte communications and disclosures. And any ex parte communications, disclosures? Seeing none, move on to approval of the meeting minutes from August 10th. That is correct, right? We only have one. I know we had a couple comments about where Sarah's name occurred.
But it's there.
It's there, Lisa, I think already has a fix for it, so we'll make her read. Was there anything else in meeting minutes that we need to discuss?
I move that we approve the minutes of August 10th.
Move to approve, Sarah seconded, all in favor? Unanimous. Okay, presentations. Do we have any presentations? We have none. Mostly working committee tonight, another working meeting. Okay, county commission update. Chris.
Okay, this will be really quick. This is from our commission meeting on August 18th. I think really the only two things that pertain to planning is the rescindment of denial of the Burr Oaks rezone. And that passed 4-3 with Dean, Hadler, and McGann in opposition. And what that was one of the commissioners bringing Burr Oaks back to the table and rescinding his original vote. Am I saying that correctly, Andrew? It was odd.
Yeah, I don't know all of the exact, there's like terms for
Right.
rescinding and there's terms for revisiting. You can only revisit during the same meeting, but you can rescind and then bring it on as a new application, new again at a future meeting.
Right.
And you have to have voted against it.
So
Right.
if it's during the same meeting,
Okay, yeah,
because you can't just have like somebody who voted in favor of it,
Yeah.
just keep bringing it over and over again, just like
Yeah.
you can't bring
right,
votes all the time to the public
okay,
until it passes. But if you notify people ahead of time, at a meeting ahead, then you can bring it back. And it can be, anybody can bring that back at a future meeting as long as it's notified. And then depending on this notification, it's how many, if you need 5 to pass, or if you need 4 to pass.
Right.
So I don't.
I mean, as we kind of talked about the last meeting, it wouldn't be the usual process. The usual process would be to just
Yeah,
put in a
back
new
to us.
application, correct?
I could use the same one.
Right, or use the same one, right?
Just bring it
And
back.
so it was odd, but Stephen did take it to Bart and Bart said it was allowable, so we did them. And then the ordinance amending the zoning maps of the Burr Oaks rezone did pass 4-3. And so that's rezoning that parcel from rural residential, sorry, to large lot. I sound like Scooby-Doo today. Large lot residential, sorry.
So there were the 2 different portions, that one was to bring it back.
Right.
And then the other is the actual.
Yeah.
When I have migraines, I had a migraine this morning. It's like I lose all mental capacity.
Well, you could just say LOR.
Yes, I will in the future. Thank you. I will. That's it.
Thanks.
And Mr. Martinez did also have some PhDs today.
Oh. Sounds good. Public hearings, we have none today. General business, action items, discussion items, we have discussion items. We have none under general business, so we can roll on to discussion items. And we have a pretty good list here. We'll start with annual obligations, and before we start, I'd like to say thank you very much for all your hard work.
Yep.
Andrew, I think this is very well organized, it's very clear, and it's gonna certainly make for a more orderly discussion as we.
As I said, it's kind of like quicksand, because once you get in it, it's like the Mario Wiggle, deeper you sink, and it's like, oh, if we change this, then this has to change or whatever, so.
So anyways, you wanna lead us through annual obligations?
Yeah, sure, so, I came, Commissioner Kimberly at the last meeting asked, about this and, you know, what do we need to do annually? And they have this just going, off of the next item coming up annually, which is by September 1st. We have to let the, county commission know of any terms that are expiring this year, there are none. And then during the fall after that first, county commission meeting, letting them know about it. If there was a vacancy, then they would move forward with that. January 1st, we've got the new appointment of members. The first meeting of the year, we've got the election of chair, vice chair, although there are some things, if the seats aren't filled by that first meeting, then that can be paused. Or then you can go into a pro tem until you seat enough of your county commission members that you feel comfortable with the vote. Review the bylaws at the beginning of each year, which is required by the bylaws. And then open to public meetings training. We usually do that at the first meeting of the year. We usually just, everybody in attendance watches the video and then we can print out the certificates. Sometime during the year, you want to review the Grand County General Plan. There is a difference between the future land use plan of Spanish Valley and the general plan. The general plan is up 200 some odd pages and very comprehensive in its scope. So there is a difference between that, and that's probably something that eventually we're going to need to talk about is what should be in the general plan. And then expiring terms in December at the end of the year. And then there's a little bit more detail into each one of those. But if you go to the next page, which is page 8 in the packet itself, line 72, we talked about this, that by the bylaws and I believe the code itself, it says that there should be at least one, but no more than 3 commissioners that their terms expire every year. And I know Commissioner Hoffine had said, you know, that she would be happy to have hers expire at the end of this year. But what I think the better thing to do would maybe, and Commissioner Day's not here, but and Commissioner Kimberly doesn't have to like say yes, but I think one of the things that can also be done is, or actually Commissioner Hoffine as well, all 3 were elected this last, or appointed this last year. And so one of those 3 just get a 1-year extension versus cutting somebody's term down 3 years or something like that. So anyway, that will probably be a recommendation from the planning commission to the county commission to
Extend one
of the terms to a 5-year term, and then that will get us back on that cycle again. So that was just, this is just an aid
How would we go about making that recommendation?
we can just send it for you. If you want to make a, you know, have somebody make a motion and then that I could just include that in to,
You know, maybe we should put it on discussion item in the
Yeah.
next meeting and when Randy's back and
Yeah,
then we
yeah.
can look for a volunteer
That'd be
for
good.
the 3 to do an extension.
Mhm.
we can make the motion and just take.
Yeah, that's a good idea.
Yeah.
We'll just have that. Lisa, can you, okay, perfect, thank you.
And we don't get Mary off that petty or something.
You may have competition.
So that's just that item,
I have a question on this, Andrew.
sure.
That I think you've done a great job of summarizing this and it would be really nice to have this, at least that table somewhere where it's easily found by a new member.
Oh, yeah, in the bylaws or something,
That's kind of what I was thinking.
yeah, that's a good point.
The year at a glance, this part,
Yeah, at least the outline of what's expected during the year. I guess we're gonna go through those here shortly anyway.
Yeah, and I just put a note there, and so that. Again, this is the work, continuation of the workshop,
Yeah,
so that we could, how we feel good about the bylaws or whatever, if you want to have that on as an agenda item. Then I can include that. You know, in there.
if we get to the point where we're happy with the bylaws, we can add that as a public hearing and then.
Yep, exactly. And then the, new commissioner orientation, I'm sure if that's an agenda item either, but these are just aids, they're not like actual, ordinances or anything. So I just identifies the different things, like, okay, you see, in the bylaw, it says that new planning commission members should understand their role and what's required and all that, so, there's a planning commission bylaws, the land use code, Article 9, and then the state code, and then some other sections of state code dealing with the open meetings rules. And then it's got that identified down there. One of the things that, you'll notice on this first part 1 table towards the bottom, it says subdivisions. So in December 14th of 2024, the county adopted an ordinance to comply with the state code that has subdivisions for a single family, 2-family, and townhouses are done by administrative land use authority, which is me, not to define me, they just say the planning director or whatever. And so those go through just administratively through me, preliminary and final. There is no concept plan. The state law allows, has an opening for the planning commission to have a say in preliminary plats, but again, it's kind of like, if it meets the requirements, you have to approve it anyway. And even when we have multifamily, commercial and industrial subdivisions that go to the county commission, those are administrative in nature as well, so they don't, there's no legislative authority in subdivisions. It's just to be the requirements or not. So what it shows at the bottom of this table on page 9 in the handout is the subdivision, but that's the subdivision ordinance. So back in the day, we'd have a zoning ordinance, and then you had a separate subdivision ordinance. However, in modern planning, we have them combined into one, which is the Land Use and Development Management Act. And so when we talk about subdivisions here, the Planning Commission reviews general plan text amendments, general plan map amendments, zoning and subdivision text amendments, plus zoning map amendments. And you make that recommendation to the county commission, who is the final body in those. And those are the legislative decisions of the county commission. But we currently don't have, or our code didn't give the planning commission preliminary plat approval, it has that all vested in the administrative land use. Sort of use a administrator. Trying to think what, Alua, which is Tongan for goodbye, but it's an administrative land use authority, I think, and that could have been designated as a planning commission for preliminary plots, but that was not in the ordinance. And then
Aaron has a question, I think.
I thought we were reviewing plats. I thought we had made that decision. We were like doing preliminary. Like, wasn't the state one of the options that we would make an administrative decision with in these meetings?
yeah, so that
When did that
is an
change?
option, December 14th of 2024.
No, like, but we were like, there was a decision made where we were going to, I mean, I remember we reviewed plats, so did that change from the commission level or? Or,
That's what the ordinance 708
huh?
doesn't have that as the planning commission option for approval or review of preliminary plats. That has it all vested in the planning director. That's ordinance 708,
Now it's passed by the county commission.
December 14th, 2024. State law allows the
Right.
planning commission to review preliminary, but that's not what the ordinance was written as.
I have a vague memory the same
Right.
way, Aaron, and I can't remember whether it was that we'd allow a hearing so people could at least talk about it. But I can't remember what it was, but I thought we did vote on something that gave us a small role in it.
Yeah, we were going to
We'd
make
have to go back to
administrative
minutes.
decisions. I hear what you're saying, Andrew,
Yeah.
but we were reviewing, and because I remember that thing up in South Mountain we reviewed, and it was like,
That's right.
you know.
Yeah, that's
like-
right, that's right.
Yeah, and.
That was that,
did they-
that said December 2024.
It wasn't a public hearing, but it was a public meeting.
And- and-
I just wondered if that was
Yeah.
prior to December.
It might.
No,
have
it
been.
was-
And Andrew,
It was last
I
year.
agree that there may, the thing I'm thinking about was it was around this thing where the state said subdivisions were gonna make them go through fast, and I thought there was something we said about, well, we like maybe to allow people to at least air the issues so they could talk about it and
That
make
was
their
approved
feelings
by the
heard.
previous commission.
But in terms of plats, I would think maybe we did it before, but not after, but that's a vague recollection
So probably be,
from an old mind.
yeah, previous to December of 2024.
No,
It's
it
actually,
was in 25.
I
I remember doing it
actually-
in 25.
I was on the planning commission. I remember this.
Yeah.
Tony was our chair.
Yeah,
okay,
It was there's only one
and
that I can think of
Yeah,
that comes to
That was
mind.
that
It was-
South Mountain one, yeah.
well, we reviewed a couple other ones, but I remember it was a thing where it was like, hey, we could get all you, us, or there was 3 options, and we had chose planning commission reviewed one, and then the previous commission approved that, and unless you guys have changed it again.
I don't remember changing it again.
yeah, so that there was, the ordinance identifying the administrative land use authority. And the planning director being that was ordinance 708, but there's also ordinance 711, which has the exact same text. Except that 711 has an exhibit of the Spanish Valley Feature Land Use Map as exhibit A, but the 708 and 711 have the exact same text. And we couldn't find 709, which we figured would have adopted the future land use plan of Spanish Valley. I know it was adopted, and so we just had that re-signed. I think Commissioner Hadler maybe was the commission chair at that point, so we didn't have anything between 708 and 711. There were.
Well, this is the problem.
Yeah, so it's up to you folks what you want to do on that.
Does 708 specifically direct that to be an administrative function and not a planning
Yeah,
commission?
yeah.
review?
And even we've had some of these single family subdivisions that have gone to the county commission as a resolution. And it specifically states in state code that for single family, two family and townhouse lots, that those may not be approved by final plat cannot be approved by the
Right.
county commission or county commission.
But there's a
So
preliminary, cause here's.
state law does allow.
Right, here's kind of the history behind that, Andrew. We chose that because sometimes, like, oh, hey, Mary's great ancestors had a trail through there and it is on this map, and that's why we decided that, was because of like old road access points and just the collective knowledge would identify like problems with like right of ways. And that's why we had come to that decision. Like, I remember this conversation with you guys and we had chose that. So I'm like, oh, if it's changed. Okay, but
Then
I think it's important to change it back.
Well,
Sure.
I guess if that's what we want to do, then we'd have to bring that 708 ordinance in here for review. Recommend a change for it and send it on to the county commission.
All right,
I remember the discussion too. In
right,
fact, I was surprised we weren't seeing them.
right, cause I was wondering too, but I don't understand everything all the time.
But no, it was Amy, because I remember Amy and I had a
Yeah.
discussion about it. I actually didn't know.
So that would be approved by the county commission, that we take this choice. I feel like I remember being at that commission meeting, watching that commission approve that idea.
Well, why don't we,
Now, if you only remembered the date.
so
It's December 14th of 2024.
It's on the ordinance.
well, why don't we do this? If there's, let's do a straw poll in here, and if we've got people that are interested in doing a review and revising probably a few sentences in there and sending it on to the county commission.
Yep.
Then we can bring it into we can have it go out with the meeting packet for the next meeting, reviewed in the next meeting and take action as needed. How does that sound? So how many are in favor of doing a review of 708? Yeah, straw poll, we got
Sounds
the
good.
majority, so if we could,
And it's only preliminary plats that's.
Yeah,
planning
right,
commission
right.
looked at.
Yeah, so
My discussion on it. was-
no concept plats anymore. That's only if the applicant requests a review of a concept plat, and that would just be with staff. And then it does allow for a preliminary plat to be reviewed by the planning commission. And then the final plat has to be done administratively on single family and two family and townhouse.
okay. And so Andrew and Lisa, one of you will send that ordinance out, okay, sounds good, and we'll add it to the agenda next meeting.
And like I said, it was that 708, 709 never appeared anywhere, 710 never appeared anywhere, 711 came through, but it had the exact same text as 708.
If it's got the same text.
None of this, yeah,
Probably no need to review both of them.
yeah, I think 711 was supposed to be the future land use map, the Spanish Valley plan, but they when it went to be recorded, they use the same text for both of those. Because 711 has the exhibit A, which is the future land use
Okay.
map.
So Aaron, did that
but-
take care of your question?
Oh, yeah, and I'm just saying, like, anyways.
It's not codified, it hasn't been codified, we're like
Okay.
3 years behind in
Yeah.
codifying.
So
fine.
where's ordinance 709 and 710? Are they just somewhere out? in
No, so
Wonderland?
So in my discussions with Quinn and others, we think 709 should have been the ordinance adopting the future land use plan. Because we couldn't find an actual recorded document that adopted that future land use plan, although in the minutes. In the packet, it has the ordinance, and in the minutes, they adopted the ordinance, but they say, on the ordinance number, they say to be determined, but. So we're guessing that maybe 709 should have been, because it was the next item on the agenda after 708. And so we just took the ordinance that was in the packet and then had that typed up as 709 and had Commissioner Hadler, I believe, sign it off.
So there's still no 7, 10, or 11, or 9 and 10? There's still no 9 and 10?
Well, 9 would be
8.
the future land use plan.
Mm-hmm.
10, I have no idea where that is, and 11 is the same as 9.
That's 8.
That's
8, yeah.
Oh, my goodness.
It's kind of a mess.
Wow.
All right, well,
Spent
let's-
2 days with the full county clerk. We talked about that kind of stuff.
Yeah, and it shows on the table, the county ordinance resolutions, so you have 708.
Yeah, no. Like I said, that one time I was trying to look up all these ordinances and I couldn't find them
Yeah, and I
anywhere.
didn't have them either, and so I asked, Dana if she could track down those, and she identified that, and then I got those from Quinn. And I passed those on to Daniel at Sunrise, who says that he's real close to having a complete land use code update. I should have said that during the business.
All right, ready to move to the next, Andrew?
Yep.
On page 10 now, is that right? Are we done with
Um,
ordinances?
I think I'm done unless you have something, and then again, all these code references in the state change. Usually not too much, but they did change in November 6th of 2025. The county went from 1727A to 1779, but again, like I said, it wasn't eye for an eye, tooth for a tooth swap. They added extra stuff in and moved things around because what they were trying to do is make it more so the municipal land use and development Agency Act for cities and towns and the county one on things that are similar, that you can kind of look in the same sections like the general plans or whatever.
Okay,
So I'm done with what we should know.
so any more comments about annual obligations? I think really the only thing we've got was the ordinance 708. That we'll review next week and then moving the obligation table into the bylaws.
But I think that's very helpful for people coming in.
100%.
Yeah.
Of course, so,
Okay.
but again, the last one changed every year, right?
We gotta review them every year anyway.
Yeah.
Can I ask like a first principles question? What's the difference between a resolution and an ordinance?
Yeah, sure. So the ordinance is establishing the law.
Okay,
So this is the code, the subdivision ordinance, the zoning ordinance. These are the laws. You can only have, your law has to be at least this wide.
okay,
Resolution, is more like you have a resolution for Arbor Day. Or you have a resolution for,
You're resolving.
yeah, so it's not a law, but it's where the county commission says, this is what we do. Now, there is a discussion that I need to have with Bart and Stephen, because like the water use and preservation element of the general plan was adopted by ordinance, not by resolution. And so ordinance usually carries a law behind it, but the general plan isn't law, it's a guiding principle. So the question is, should we have adopted that by resolution instead of by ordinance? Or when we work on the general plan, changes to that, maybe by resolution? I don't know, that's up to them. But changes to the land use code will be by ordinance because it's law versus
Yeah.
kind of the good idea or,
sometimes it's those basic things, I was like,
Yep.
yeah, I don't know the difference.
yeah. No problem.
Ordinances are regulation
Okay,
and resolutions are resolving.
okay.
That's the best way, that's the only way I can.
Yeah. Okay, well,
Regulation and resolving.
Okay, if we're done with annual obligations, we'll move on to Robert's Rules of Order.
Yep, and so with this, everything in red and blue is what you've already reviewed, but there were a few things that you were asking changes to be made from last time we met. And so I have those in green, both underlined and just or struck through and just added in the green. So I said before, you have your ordinances that are hold you to certain requirements and get your resolutions, you got your other things. The bylaws. So if you figured like this is a rock wall, you've got all these different rocks. The bylaws, the code that identifies what the planning commission can do, etc. Robert's rules is kind of the mortar that sets it in there and holds everything together. So bylaws rule, the zoning ordinance dealing with planning commission. And by the way, so in addition to like the zoning ordinance, there are other ordinances of the city which say like you can't take a bath in a public water fountain at the park and things like that, right? So there are other ordinances of the city and laws of the city that we don't deal with as a planning commission. So I think it's actually like Title 16 or something that we deal with. And these are sections. So these kind of Robert's rules or parliamentary procedure just is how things are ordered and how you go about things so that it works out good. And so in Robert's rules, they say on a committee this size, you wouldn't necessarily have to have a second. And we don't have where somebody has to stand up and do a second and motion, and then they have to be stand up and be recognized and stuff like that. It's more informal. But because the bylaws establish the requirement for a second, we put that in under Robert's rules, but that wouldn't be something that would necessarily be required.
Andrew?
Yep.
It's all interesting. Here I am, I'm back on a, on one of the ones, ex parte communication, line 75 on page 15. This is still where we're talking about, if I understand correctly, parliamentary procedures. And I get confused. I'm gonna bring this up in the bylaws also. I do understand what ex parte communication is. Communication from somebody else. There's one of the parties. That's probably what it means in Latin. Then somebody could add without the other parties present. That's fine. But that's not what ex parte communication means for us that we have to disclose. And I think it muddies the matter because if there's two ways of thinking of ex parte communications, then when I'm sitting around the table and we're doing planning about the general plan, and one of the citizens says, I'm putting up a red thing right here because I think that we don't need this agricultural land. It's only one party, it's not in front of all the other parties. And it's not ex parte communications that get us in trouble, or that I have to say something about at a meeting, and it shouldn't be, so.
So are you saying
yeah,
we're at a meeting?
No,
the residents.
we're at a workshop.
Okay.
We're at a workshop. Or if somebody actually says to me, I don't like increased density. What am I gonna do with that? I don't have to, unless it was about an application that's in front of us. Then that's not an ex parte communication. It's not from an interested party that has some financial interest. So I worry about having, and I really do in the bylaws. We discuss what ex parte communications is. It has to do with the applicant, the representative of the applicant, etc. But in there we say, what it means in Latin, it means that a party from one of the parties
Yeah, one time.
contacts you. So I'm not sure it should be in here, ex parte, contact and predetermination, because this is this one that says from one party, or, one side only, which I'm not sure really means in Latin. A communication from the other side not present, blah, 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 blah. That's not an ex parte. No, you might look it up there, but it's not an ex parte communication
Oh, I just.
according to
you're
state
saying-
law.
I was just, you were just saying that
Yeah.
you didn't know what the Latin
Yeah,
interpretation was, but it's one,
Yeah.
one part.
yeah,
One
because I
part.
think what they do is, I think what they do after my Latin class. I think, believe it or not, they made us take it for college prep in my day. But I think that legally, yes, it does have to do with this without the other party present, but that's not what we're talking about with ex parte communication that you have to disclose. It certainly isn't in Call's book that we all read, to try to figure out what ex parte communication.
Yeah, and
I have a question, or is that okay, Jerry, if I ask him a
Sure.
question? What year did you take that Latin class?
What did I take that? Well, let's see. Now that's a very good question. I have to go back. So let's see, I was born in. Tell you. And, but I probably would have been a sophomore in high school, and
Whoa,
that must have been, maybe as a freshman in high school. I don't know, it must have been 56 or something, I can't.
and he's still using his Latin?
No,
He's
I
still
did not,
working out his Latin?
12, so that gives me my birthday, but so does my email address. So, maybe it was 19th, maybe it was, near the
I was
60s.
just really.
Yeah, my,
Yeah. It was a long time ago.
all my Catholic
That's a
friends.
lot.
All of it all is divided into 3 parts. That's what I remember.
So, Opie, I want to get back to your
Yeah.
point here. So we're looking at the ex parte contact and predetermination.
Yes,
You brought the point up about what ex parte is for us in this meeting.
yeah.
So is your point that you think we should get more detail in here?
I would, yes, I'd be happy to put more detail in here. And quote from the way I'd love to see the bylaws, which I think can be more simply put, but yes, if we put ex parte, then it tells us what we're not allowed to do, which is what we're interested in.
So here's a suggestion. We're thinking about doing a public hearing on this in the next meeting.
Yes,
So I guess if you want it in a public hearing, you're free to bring up information like this and we can actually move to agendas. I would suggest that you bring in exactly what you want that to be, and we'll have that discussion in the next meeting.
And we also have, lines 101 through 102 that, establish that the bylaws are stricter than what the state statute is. But also in my research, I found with this, so Mr. Day is out. And if he texted Mr. Kimberly and said, hey, I'm not gonna be here on Monday, just so you know. That's not ex parte, right? And when we have the meetings to establish the agenda, that's not ex parte as well. So, because there's some things where it's like, okay, well, if one planning commissioner attacks another planning commissioner, that's not necessarily ex parte communication. Now, if you're saying, I'm gonna vote this way and I want you to vote this way as well, and you're doing that, that's a problem, but just being like, hey, I'm not gonna.
I don't know if that's ex parte or if that's an ethical problem, it's one of the two. Anyway, Obi, if you wanna take that
Yeah.
action for the next one.
and I can't remember when our next meeting is. It's possible that I'm backpacking in the Sierras, but if that happens, could I give you send you my language? And you could say this is what Obi suggested, see what people think.
And so you also know, the legal folks have said that they don't want to review anything until after the planning commission has decided on things, because otherwise they would be reviewing everything every right? So,
I think we're
this,
okay.
once we get it all set, and we're gonna have the public hearing. Then we can have the attorneys review it and the, well, this is Robert's rules. But the bylaws are by resolution, but then there's the section that's, by ordinance, so maybe.
And we'll get to that in due time.
Yep. Yeah, so this is, like I said, this is when you've got a question about, well, how should we do this, or what happens in this situation, then these are the guidelines that you should follow, and
So we're on page 15 now.
I'm moving to 16. Commissioner O'Brien, take us to 15, thank you very much.
I stuck us on 15.
In 16. So. I've been at a meeting, in fact, I was in a meeting just the other day, and somebody said, let's table this. Well, table doesn't mean like, let's put it off and come back next week. Table means we've got an urgent emergency, so we need to table discussion on this, take care of this emergency, and then come back to that. It's not postponing it into the future. And then I've been in a lot of meetings where people have called the question and that stops all debate. I think it's not necessarily how that happens. And then in just some notions and, once a motion is made and seconded, the second doesn't mean the person who seconded it agrees with it. They could be opposed to it, but they just wanted to move forward. But then once that motion is made and is seconded, it's no longer owned by that person who made the motion. It's owned by the whole planning commission. So sometimes it'll be like, oh, well, here's a friendly amendment, you know, Aaron, are you okay if I change your motion to be whatever? That's not how it works. It's owned by everybody at that point. I think that's all I have through 19, page 19.
And Andrew, I'm right, in our bylaws, at least on these kind of, or Robert's rules of, stuff, it kind of has some general statement that says, well, if you violate one of these rules, it doesn't mean your decision doesn't count. So for instance, if somebody didn't second it, or I said, call the question, and he said, yeah, we gotta do it right away.
Yeah,
Yeah.
no, yeah, it doesn't stop that would happen. It even goes so far in state code that if you have a public hearing and it didn't get properly noticed, it was 9 days instead of 10. There's certainly the time that somebody can protest that and say, this is only 9 days instead of 10. You can make a motion and all that and act on something, but you're not necessarily, the action isn't necessarily disqualified because the notice wasn't done properly, there's a mistake in the notice. So it's along those same lines. If you're doing some procedural thing, it doesn't void your action because somebody can't come back and say, oh, well, you didn't second that properly.
So are these gonna, the parliamentary procedure at a glance, is this gonna be part of the bylaws?
Nope.
Oh, then why do we have draft on there?
Just because it.
Since you got that was just my question, but why are we drafting something?
Yeah, no, it just means it's not final.
Okay.
Yeah, it's just.
My first thought is sometimes I would leave draft when I was printing something and then I think, oh my gosh, it really wasn't a draft.
Yeah, it was just,
Okay.
I think, so you didn't know there, they knew there was a stop, is.
Yeah, I know,
Should
yes.
be hung up on posters something around.
It's nicely put together.
There's a,
It's good.
Big poster.
and they are just, being-
Or we just do stencils.
those
Yes.
just, and then the bylaws by resolution.
Yeah.
And then the code by code.
I just thought.
Yep.
You know, anybody adopting procedure.
I like,
Yeah, no.
I do like it. I do.
I do too. And Andrew, I like the little comment about abstention. That's good.
Yeah.
I think it's something that's really
gotta be
common,
brave.
that, yeah, you gotta just,
What you're appointed for and what you're elected for, right?
yeah. I like that comment.
Dude, like, on that rescind or amend, like, if you rescinded something, does it have to be posted as an action item? Like posted on the meeting? Like, could I be like, well, I rescind this, I make a motion to rescind.
So- So that's kind of what we had in this last county commission meeting, and there's a difference between rescinding and,
Reconsidering.
reconsidering. Reconsidering is during the same meeting,
Right,
and if you want to rescind, so you've already taken the vote,
yeah.
and everybody's all okay with it, but then you want to bring it back again, you have to identify that before the meeting. So in a meeting, you say, I want this to be, I want this to be on the agenda to rescind this motion that we passed that approves such and such. And then, there's a certain vote threshold that you have. If you just did it in the next meeting and said, I want to rescind this vote that happened
It
years
has to be
ago,
published.
then you've got to have like a much larger proportion of the commission to vote on it. If you want just a simple majority, then you have to notify it ahead of time, the meeting ahead of time, and then you can act on it. At least that's what I was.
Yeah, yeah.
Like, yeah,
It just-
can I be like, I want
It was
to
convoluted, and
rescind
there's no
my,
need for that.
rescind my vote on call for adjournment on the next meeting, right? I'm like, we would have to notify, like, be like, hey, this has to be on. Okay.
I don't think you can rescind a call for adjournment. That's
I'm familiar with all this stuff except for that.
Yeah, so it's something that's adopted. So rescind or amend something previously adopted.
Yeah, I just was wondering, it has to be posted, it has to be posted on the agenda, basically.
If you already adopted something
Yeah,
and pass it, and then you wanna come back and talk about that again and have a change in the vote,
Yeah.
then yeah, that has to be on the agenda to be.
It was off.
Any more on Robert's Rules of Order? I think we're done at the end, right?
Yeah.
We have item number 3 is to give Andrew a break. It's synchronizing the future land use plan and land use code.
And I have some thoughts on that, but, for sure.
Yeah, let's have Aaron lead off.
Yep.
oh, yeah, I actually addressed the commission on this last citizens to be heard. Just because we were starting to see, we were approved, like saying, hey, let's go forward this on the, as a land use item, and then the commission was like, oh, no. And I think that disconnect was a sign of, a problem that we have. And I went out to that, to like Blue Vista. I know some people, I happened to do some work out there. And then I talked to some people in the HOA, and I also just walked that pavement and was like, oh, well, here's the bike tracks that the kids in this neighborhood are using to go over here. And it was like, oh, they already have like paths that the HOA kind of own. And they have green space. And what I said to the commission was kind of what Andrew has been saying, like, are we an urban county or are we a rural county? Because these neighborhoods are like way out in the tip of the Spanish Valley, but they're neighborhoods with like density as much as like Tusher or my place of Mountain View. And so, it's not like you can like annex that in the city, and that's kind of an unpopular thing if you float that anyways. But it's kind of like, I had written a letter to the commission, but then I saw in the paper that they took $20,000 for a study, right? But transportation study, but like the thing I'm getting at is it's like, it's more than just transportation. It's kind of like, do these people need a park in their open space owned by the HOA? That's just tumbleweeds right now. And they sound like the HOA people in some of these places are like, yeah, sure, take it, off our hands. But I'm like, well, you're not in the city, so you don't get a perk kind of thing. But do we want to change that? Because as their county is like changing into like, well, there's neighborhoods that aren't getting annexed. is that a fundamental question of like, do we start changing the character of the county? And that's kind of like my thing, at least about like that $20,000. I'm kind of like, hey, I know the money's spent, but like, does Trail Mix need to look at this and be like, oh, hey, we can route the bike path to Ken's Lake through here and they don't even know about it? Is it like, like, oh, where the kids are like playing on Stocks Drive and that thing, like, you put like another cement berm and then they won't hit traffic. And it's like, I talked to a couple people that are like, oh yeah, like our kids got hit by a car, but it wasn't like anything big, but that's a thoroughfare through like a neighborhood. So it's like, we're having a problem out there. Like, that's the problem. And I understand why, like Trish, you like voted against it. I'm like, oh yeah, there's somebody going 39 miles per hour in a 15-mile-per-hour zone. I get it. We're only supposed to look at the land code. You guys have, bigger things to look at. And I'm like, I get why you guys are voting things in a certain way because there's concerns. So like, I just am like, hey, somebody needs to like look at this as a neighborhood and not. And do we handle neighborhoods like neighborhoods, or is it like, yeah, you're in the county, like you're a trailer on 2 acres and you don't get anything, right? Like, I don't know, like it's changing.
Well, and I do think that was why we talked, when we did approve the $20,000, does it need to be a larger study? And the roads department, was feasibly gonna chip in, because the reality is we need another outlet off of Spanish Valley
Like,
Drive.
do you
Which
guys
I do
need
think
an
there's-
eminent domain area?
Right. I mean, I think it has to be a larger.
Yeah,
look at.
most of those subdivisions out there are half acre lots.
Yeah,
And here's the problem you get with half acre lots in the current land use code and the road code. If it's larger than a half an acre, you're not required to put in sidewalk.
right,
But because they were PUDs, those are all PUDs.
Yeah.
Exactly.
right,
They were required to put in trails.
Mhm.
And those trails were supposed to match up with the other trails in the other subdivisions. And for the most part,
Yeah,
they
they
do.
do.
But they didn't pave them.
Right.
They just
Right.
maintained them.
Yeah.
yeah,
Yeah.
So, but there are
And they're-
trails.
they're
out there. They
gravel.
should, I think the trail department knows that. They know they're out there. Because they're recorded in the
Yeah.
recorder's office,
right,
as trails.
Yeah.
right.
And most of it, like even the little one that's clear out there, and I can't remember the name of it, it also has a trail all the way around it, and I don't know if it comes into the other subdivision or not, because there's a space between some of those subdivisions. So matching those trails
Right.
or something, when you subdivide, you should watch for. That's one of the things the land use code actually requires, and so does the construction standards. That you watch for and pay attention to where the other trails are, essentially like you do a road.
So do you feel like, I'm just saying something should be happening, I don't know, like, hey, county, like, when we put in boost our voice a little bit, like, I don't know, you guys might take a little bit more serious, but like, that's the only thing I saw, was like, hey, this is happening, why are all we saying yes and they're saying no, kind of thing, it's.
But we're not,
No,
but we're not saying no, I mean, that thing passed.
Right, but I
I mean,
understand that.
Sarah said this, and I'm not picking on you, Sarah, but you said this last meeting, like, oh, we keep saying no to all, and that's not true. If you
Right.
go through the last, specifically, the last year and a half, I don't think anything.
Sure.
failed.
The-
Yeah,
State property.
and I'm not picking, I'm just saying,
Sure,
like,
I'm saying
I
I
think
agree.
there's a general sense
Right.
that things are being denied, and
Well,
that's not the
here's
case.
the
I mean,
thing.
I could bring the voting.
Here's the thing though, is like, I think there's a lot of point in the dissent. And when there is point in dissent,
Right.
things need to be looked at, like, respect the minority, because it's like, hey, there's point, there's reason why there's things brought up, so like, that's why I'm
I
just.
keep just saying the same thing, that I think we need to go through the process of having a zoning map. And I think once we got to that, hopefully it will squelch all of these reasons. We're just,
That's kind of the reason I worded it this way, is I think that's related, and you actually brought that up before, Trish, you said, think about how we're gonna implement this future land use.
Yep.
Plan,
right,
it needs to turn into some kind of zoning change.
right,
And how do we do that? Do we have small neighborhood meetings? Do we have big ones?
But if we're having PUDs and bonus densities and stuff, it like, you
think-
get that zoning that all of a sudden you're curb and gutter and it's a neighborhood,
Yep.
right? So it's like, that's a
But
thing that happens.
I mean, it's. We get to, I don't know that we get to make those decisions, but we certainly have a lot of influence in those, and they don't need to be curb and gutter. You
Right.
know, they can be trails and things like that, right?
And also, if you look at like how the city's laid out,
Mhm.
their drainage system is all cohesive.
Mhm.
In the county, as things developed, there were spaces between, we'll hit you one of these days. There's spaces between all the subdivisions, so the cohesiveness of even drainage isn't there. So they have to build their own drainage specific to that, and it can only
Right.
go to there. If you're not next to the creek, you're having to retain it or detain it. So it's, there's the problems that their subdivisions are going in spaces, and there's spaces between, we're not cohesively dividing and setting it up so that it grows.
So is that the thing that needs to be changed?
I'd like to see that happen, but you know, we don't own the land, and people who come in and want their land developed, if they're following all the regulations of the code, can't tell them no.
I think there's a little bit of, you have the future land use plan for that area. And it has identified certain densities, so in some cases it's 4 to 6 units per acre. Some places it's a higher density, et cetera. But that was adopted 7-0 at the planning commission, 7-0 at the county commission. If the planning commission and the county commission have buyer's remorse on that map, and you say, no, that's not what we want at all, I don't know how that was approved or whatever, we need to start back at that. And we have to do that because for one thing, we don't have 40 units per acre zone, right? Quarter acre zone, we don't have that. And so with the future land, or excuse me, with the land use code update, one of the things that Commission Chair McCandless wants to see is something where there's something between half-acre lots and the 8 units per acre. So where are they? 1/8 lots. You go from half to 1/8. There needs to be something in between there, like a quarter or a third or whatever. But first of all, you have to decide, is this plan that was adopted really what you want? And if it's not what you want, we need to figure out what that is, and
Andrew,
then we can.
this is a really good conversation to have, but I was in for the whole future land, as were, you know, many of the people in here through that whole process. We had a lot of meetings, we got a lot of good public input. We knew when we adopted it that there was an implementation phase of that had to go. I don't have buyer's remorse, and I know you mentioned that a couple times. I don't have buyer's remorse. What I want to do is see the job finished.
Right.
Yeah, that's.
Me too.
So like, and my problem is like, oh, okay, well, do we need to rescind PUDs? No more PUDs. Right? Is that the thing? Cause it's almost sounding like maybe that's the problem.
Thanks.
So, and like, okay, but if we stick with this map, is this going to be more of a problem? Because, oh, now we have neighborhoods that are forming.
But it all depends on the details, right? And
Right.
that's what needs to be ironed out.
Right.
And that's a process. That's why, when you brought up, when you were talking about, I thought, that's really what we're talking about
Yeah.
here is what steps do we take to get this thing final? And you bring up trails as a part of it. I think there's probably a dozen or so categories we could throw in there that need to be finalized before this thing is really done. Yeah, anyway, Mary, go ahead.
Very next.
Now you made the reason I can't follow. I'm
You can go
also
after
When I
me.
said rescind PUDs, maybe.
just saying that the PUD was the only way at that time. Like I said, we had all these spaces between our lands.
Yeah.
And we weren't in a big growth period, and we were kind of were, but not like we are now. So I think PUDs had its purpose. I still think they have a purpose. It was one of my favorite ways to, because it gave the developer and the county the opportunity to share the development.
Yeah.
We want this, so you give us that.
Yeah, it's great. They have
And
open
the
space.
way
It's awesome.
our code is going to be written, hopefully, is it's going to take what our land use, our general plan is saying is, okay, we're gonna grow, but we're gonna grow this way and we're gonna grow slow. Not take it all out here, we're gonna grow slow, and so those things will happen. And as that happens, those roads will connect, I'm hoping, the trails will connect, we'll have more of a cohesive planning, building process. But we don't know the land, and these developers who own it are the ones who come into us, we don't go out to them. So we can't project what that's gonna happen. We can't say, okay, we're only gonna let you develop here, but you can't develop here. because it's too
But
far.
We are charged with the orderly development of the county. And what I see is like, this order here, and then the neighboring place, it's a different order.
Yep.
And it's causing problems. And so, like, when you say that, I'm like, oh yeah, we don't control all that, but we do like provide the structure for an orderly development. And
Within
that's
the
what I'm
land use
saying.
code, within the land
Yeah.
use code, that's the only place we'll be able to do it. We can't do it with our general. plan.
Right.
Can't-
But we can make recommendations to the county
Sure.
to say with your general plan that you need to look at this problem.
Well, we actually will do it with our land use code.
Yeah,
And when we start going through that, those are the times and the items we need to really pay attention to.
okay.
That's where it will really fall into place.
Obi?
No, it was only, it's just a random thought that I think of, which is, I really would like to preserve some agricultural land in the county, and it is a hard thing to know how we are going to plan to actually have that happen. And if we want to grow 1% a year or 0.5% a year, how that actually happens, because it is actually nice to have local agriculture and open space and green fields as you go down. And I'm gonna blow it on the highway, it's the Spanish Valley Drive that goes on down there. It's so very sweet to see. And it's part of our future land use map. I'm not yet sure how we preserve that unless we're rigidly don't rezone some areas. I'm not exactly sure where those areas should be, but I think that's a very tough problem to do.
I'd just like to point out, most of those lots are dirt lots and nothing growing on them except tumbleweeds. So, I mean, like.
Just really quick, it's funny you brought up the ag thing, because I was gonna make that a future consideration to revisit our ag protections ordinance. And then just, this is an aside for people, we are doing in January, the Conservation District is doing succession planning for ag, conservation easements for ag, because the reality is some of that is gonna be preserved into perpetuity because it's in conservation easements, right?
Yep.
So we know that. But anyways, the more that we can get producers that are willing to go in that direction, it will preserve it, you know. So.
I'm gonna say, I'll make one quick comment, then you're next. One of the things that bothers me about within a PUD, someone setting aside a certain amount of open space is you end up with these little patches here, there, and there, and you don't end up with a nice big park over here that a bunch of people would use.
You can do that in the land use code. At the time, we didn't have that.
You
And actually,
know, so.
we tried. I mean, that was the whole issue for that, our PUD. In fact, I worked with the gentleman when I first started doing planning with the county that wrote the first PUD plan, and he wrote our plan.
Well,
And he wrote it in Minnesota, but he wrote ours after. But it's obviously changed and progressed, but that is one of the things I think, maybe not in the current code, but the first code it was in. That was what it's supposed to be for community use.
yeah,
So it's supposed to be pocket parks, or the one on Beaman actually turned into, they gave it to the fire department, so they use it for their little fire department back down there when they need it. One of the subdivisions up, Robertson's, I don't think it was Robertson's, but it's one up there. We didn't have drainage, we didn't have drainage plan at the time, so they took a whole lot and turned it into a thing.
that's right, that is Robertson.
Yeah, that is Robertson, so there's, and even they took their open space and gave it to the city because it had a well on it.
Yeah,
And they pay tax on those open spaces, so it's for them to use it for something would be good. I know the city has one on Hunt Bridge Circle, their little parks. So it's available to them to do that, they just don't put the money into it and we didn't require it. Once again, it's
That's
something we
good.
have to do in our land use code, so
No shortage of ways to improve.
always great ways to improve.
Very good.
I still think that if we're going to have conversations about Spanish Valley development specifically and the future land use map, or the future map for Spanish Valley, it is worth it to us to organize a workshop with San Juan County Planning and Zoning. Because what we have in mind for our map may differ substantially from what they're wanting to see Spanish Valley Drive become. And if we're talking about that valley being cohesive and putting in drainage and infrastructure and things like that, there's ways that we can make them foot part of this bill as part of the county as well. If we're not working together for a shared space in those neighborhoods, because some of those neighborhoods border that county line. And I wouldn't be surprised if we see some of those subdivisions come through where that could be, well, they can do it on this side of it, which isn't our problem. San Juan County is not our problem, but I think it is worth it to us to have those conversations to at least understand where they're planning to go with Spanish Valley, because the reality is, if we're gonna see growth, which neither San Juan County or Grand County are seeing growth, not enough, it's worth it to us to see, are they gonna put a neighborhood center next to somewhere that we want to keep ag, or, I just think those were conversations that need to happen between two entities sharing such a close space together. Because that would possibly help us with some of our land use code updating too.
And San Juan County didn't have water and sewer. They had, well, for years they didn't have it. They had to have full acre lots because they needed septic
Yeah.
and
Wells.
wells.
Yeah.
So when the county gave water and sewer to just over San Juan County, the biggest concern and I was after I retired, but one of our biggest concerns, our planning department, commission even, not even just the department, but our concern was they would change their zoning to use up quarter acre lots. I mean, they could do that in San Juan County, but we have no control over it. Where we need control is how we provide them water and sewer, but we didn't do that at that point.
Mhm.
I don't know how it happens. I don't know where that comes from. That's GWSSA's, and that's a special service district. We don't own it, the county doesn't have any say so in it.
And who's to say that we even gain anything from that, but it's worth it for us to have that
Yeah.
conversation to at least be on the same page.
Yeah.
Because if they're trying to develop Spanish Valley Drive into being their next metro, not metro area, and we're trying to preserve ag there, those two things don't work together.
And that was one of the reasons why when they were, one of the general plans during that process was if San Juan County wanted water and sewer, they had to follow our land use code, which would have kept them for 1 acre lots. Because they were in fear of the fact that San Juan County would rezone everything to quarter acre lots. Anyway, it's just history.
I just think if Spanish Valley is a conversation that we really wanna focus on, which I think is something we should do.
Yeah.
Especially trail systems and things like, all of those things are all gonna talk to each other over that county line and impact us in one way or another, and impact our development and future planning decisions.
Good conversation. I knew we weren't gonna finalize it. But it's 6:38 and we have a lot to cover. So we had two people with their hands up. Let's hit those and then move on.
Just,
Trish, I think.
really quick, San Juan, I agree, Megan, I think we do need to be working with San Juan County. San Juan County is girdled by their water. They have 610 acre feet or whatever it is to develop. That is one thing that will squelch their development. And whether it's good or bad, it just is what it is. They don't have a lot of water to develop. Unless they can get out of Colorado, which I don't see that happening in the near future, but that will, girdle what they can do for a while. But I agree, I think the trail system specifically is especially since we've just completed Mud Springs, and Grand County's been doing a ton of work on that network. And it is in San Juan County, and I think the connectivity, to be able to provide that will be really good.
Aaron, you had a comment?
I just see that if. Like on a lot of these things that have been up for like. That are being subdivided, it's either gonna be 4 houses on an acre, or 1 4-acre lots. And it's not gonna be ag, it's going to be a house with a big lawn. They're going to be subdivided. And my thing is like ag, unless you own a field and are gonna legacy preserve it. These things are gonna get, they're gonna get made into subdivisions. And my question is with all our like. I mean, what I'd like to be is like, okay, let's give you some affordable housing, like. Bonus densities and stuff, and now we're making neighborhoods. And so like, we just had this big old discussion and I'm like, I wanted to tell the county, this is a problem. I don't know what to do. Is the traffic study you guys are doing enough? I don't know. And I just see them like, oh, we have a high density neighborhood, a blank weedy lot. That, oh, okay, now you're, okay, there's gonna be 2 big houses here. And it's an incongruent way of developing that I am just like. I just see a lot, like there's points in all sides of the argument. And it's like, and we just have traffic problems and that kind of stuff. And I'm like, I don't know what the result of this whole thing was. Mary, you had some great points, but I'm like, did somebody write down, let's put in the land use code, connect your PUD open spaces. I didn't write that down. I'm just saying like, is anything, are we gonna do anything with that? That was a great point. I just, what did this whole discussion yield? I don't know. Like, I was looking for a letter to the commission being like, this is a problem in the pattern of development. We are charged with the orderly development of the county. I think it's disordered. And
Aaron, let's work on that as we get through this land use code. That's
Okay.
really the whole intent.
right.
It's where it is.
Yeah.
And planning commission gets to say a lot.
Okay.
All right, can we move
I've
on
just,
to
I've heard also that the things already written, was any of this discussion baked into the cake? I don't think it's going to.
There's 2 parts of what they're of what they're running. One is they're reorganizing them and getting all of the ordinances put in.
Yeah.
And I think that's a pretty straightforward thing, and we let the lawyers go do that, not they go. The other one is things like we've got the future land use plan, zoning codes. And we have the land use code, zoning codes, and those 2 things don't talk to each other. And that the lawyers can't do. We need to problem that.
That's right.
And that's more along the lines of what you're saying.
Yeah.
So
It's
that's,
policy decisions.
policies, they're 2 unrelated things, and what's being done now are the things that the legal team can do.
Okay.
So, all right, here we go into code, section 8.
Oh, no, yeah.
Except Philby's not ready.
No, I am ready. I've got a comment on page 23, but you may want to do more introduction.
All right, Andrew, the floor is yours, and Obi's got a comment on 23 when you get done.
Sure, so on page 22, the blue text, of course, is what was previously in our discussion, and then the green is what's been added. The strike through green is deleted, and then the underlying green is added, which is in that conformance to ordinance 708 with the planning commission. And if you go through there, conditional uses go to the county commission. The subdivisions, unless you make this change, subdivisions of single family, 2-family and townhouses all go through the administrative land use authority. Zone changes, zoning text amendments, zoning map amendments, planning a general plan, text amendments, general plan map amendments. All those planning commission's advisory on. And so there's not really anything that the planning commission is the final decisive body. So it's just identifying that advisory role, and then we get into organization. We talked about having it one or two non-voting liaisons. The liaisons was from the previous meeting. And then we add that the liaison does not count toward a quorum, it may not deliberate, may not vote. And then, what were you on page 23?
It was just a question, actually probably for Trish, where I'm down at number 3 on page 23. Liaison members shall be elected by the county commission. And for some reason, I thought they got appointed by the chair.
No, but
How does it work?
it's by the county commission.
Is it?
Yeah, and most of it's fairly
Okay.
mellow, but when there's some kind of, I want it, no, you want it, then we do a vote, we do vote,
Okay,
so.
so it is actually a vote.
So, and when
If,
they,
if there's
when they
contention,
appoint people, da,
Yes.
da, da, da,
Yeah.
you and this one, this,
Yeah.
whatever.
Okay,
And then there is a vote on that
Yeah.
final.
on the fly, not all, and again, not every single time, if it's just like, oh, I wanna be on that, and everybody else is like, fine, go for it, but if there is two people that wanna be on something, we
The
do.
final list though, does the final list get voted on?
Yes.
Or do you just say,
Yes.
yeah, this is what we have? Good.
Yeah, I think it is a vote
Okay.
on that.
I withdraw my comment entirely.
It's great to watch. It's a great horse trade.
I think that has to be changed from elected to appointed and voted in.
Okay, yeah.
So I think that's a good.
I was just kind of remembering, I think,
Yeah,
Melody, you're doing, and this committee and that committee, like, that's good. Yeah, appointed and voted on, that sounds right.
yeah, yep, that's good.
Just the chair and vice, I'm on page 24. Chair and vice chair, elected annually before it was like elected after appointments were made to the planning commission, but he didn't have appointments made every year. So then it would be like a 2-year chair and vice chair. So I've changed that. Let's see, oh, and the other thing is in the code, it said, commission for both planning commission and county commission were just identified as commission. So I've added in, like you'll see in the second, third of page 24. Just in the note there, you can see ingredients planning commission, just so we are keeping the planning commission and county commission as separate entities in that page. And then if we go to page 26 in the green of B, to hear and recommend on any matter before it was determined, and I don't know that there's a determination. And again, this stuff will all be reviewed by the county attorney plus the county attorney's planning attorney.
Yeah.
Go over to page 27, definition of the land use authority. State code there. Summary of the land use authority, zoning administrator. And you could have a zoning administrator, the planning planner could be different people. As well as you could have a different group as a land use authority. However, a county commissioner cannot serve as a member of or as the land use authority. Let's see, so I think this one on page 28, I was thinking this came from,
So this 9.2, so
go ahead.
this is the stuff that we need to like review. Oh man, we
Yeah,
were talking about earlier.
yep, we're the single family, 2-family townhome. Administrative Land Use Authority, planning director. And there's some things that I didn't put in the table in there, but I didn't add that in because it was already done. So it's separately.
So
And
I guess if if I dug in the archives and I found a commission meeting where it was like, oh, the planning commission is the land use authority for preliminary subdivisions,
Mhm.
right? Then this would need to be changed. So this whole thing is kind of under, like, I've
So,
got questions.
yeah, so that's one of the things that I'm gonna look at,
Okay,
try and go
You're
back
into it,
to the
okay.
previous planning commission meetings and see what the planning commission had said, if it's there in the record. But what was adopted in.
This is Amy Wiseman time period, just so you know,
Yeah,
history wise.
sort of, and maybe even before her for a certain portion of it, but yeah, it was. When she was in on some of that in December, but,
I'm just saying, I'm just pointing out, there's
Yeah.
moving parts where if that moved,
We-
then this moves, and then it's a cascading.
yeah, we had a thing
Mending these bylaws.
back with, transportation sales taxes. And we thought it had to go to a vote at the legislature, and so we got some of the legislators afterwards, because we looked through everything, we couldn't find where it went to vote. And they're like, oh yeah, it's in here, and they read through it, and they're like, oh, that got switched. And so with the person who was posing that ordinance, changed the ordinance before the vote, but didn't tell anybody that they had taken out the requirement to vote. And so
Well,
it happens at the state legislature where they're like, whoa, that's not what we thought we voted
I
on.
guess, Andrew, all I'm pointing out is there could be a cascading effect that affects this.
Yep. Yep, exactly. So we'll check that out and see what was the.
And Andrew, on 4.9, this alternative dwelling overlay district. Since it's expired, I think we're on that page,
Which.
page 28.
Sorry.
Yeah, and you're not suggesting, but we could delete that section. Are we doing the same with the HDHO? And if not, for what reason would we eliminate one or not, and not both of them?
And how does that work?
The deleted,
Yeah, well, if you delete it out and isn't there somewhere where you could put the alternative dwelling overlay district? So that people that are already there wouldn't become a non-conforming use. How does that work?
Would it just stay
Well-
there as expired?
well, I mean, you could do that, you could say it's expired, or you can delete that through there, and I think that's what we actually have. Is so the underline is what's added,
Okay,
so we're saying alternate dwelling overlay district expired. And then it just identifies it expired in November of 2023, but it's not.
And then the
It's
HDHO.
delete
should
that.
be
If it
the
was strike through, then it would be deleted out.
Okay.
I guess it
And
does make,
the same with, and the HDHO is now expired also.
but I think that sentence does make sense at the end of that paragraph, Mary, where it says development standards applicable to ADO districts approved before the sunset are preserved.
Yes.
Right, does that answer your
Yeah,
question?
yeah, I just wanted to make sure that we are aware of that.
Yeah, it was underlined that strike through or something. And then,
And then, of course, HDHO.
yeah, and
Yeah.
just above that, we have the street layout, which previously the planning commission. Determined the street layout, but then we got the street layout.
So Andrew, then we'd probably do the same with the HDHO?
Yeah.
Yeah, that's
I've got that. in mind.
because that's going to make it easier to
Yeah.
read through all of those.
Mhm.
Well,
right.
consistent too, for
Yeah.
expired ordinances.
Yeah, right.
And that's what I have there. I've got this additional section that is the change registry, so you can see like what this change was and why they were there. And again, the blue was pre-existing and then the green was added onto there, just so you can kind of keep track of
Or
it.
note. Are you gonna, will that note be inserted in, well, we'll figure it out in the language code, but that little note should probably also stay in there so that everyone understands what that means.
Are you talking about the ADO?
Yeah, I think you only, it's alternative, or whatever it's called.
Yeah, I think it's covered by the thing, but I'll double check. this.
Yeah, well, when it comes out of the planning or land use code, we will check it too.
And then
And,
the bylaws.
And I assume we're gonna. Yeah, a couple of these changes I don't agree with, but should we talk about those when we hit bylaws? Or should I?
Up to you.
Well, we're
If
doing
it's,
bylaws.
is it in the
yeah.
code or is it in the bylaws, or it could be in both?
Yeah, I had a couple of things on page 31. And here's another question for Trish, I'm testing what she knows. For, oh boy, yeah, I know, sure.
I told you my brain was all scribbled today, but okay.
Well, the thing is there a limit to how many words somebody can write in their comment to the county commission?
I do not believe so. You mean on that online form?
Yeah.
Does it give out?
Yeah.
I don't know. Do you want me to ask Dana that?
I
question?
would be interested, I am a little worried about B8, which is at the top of page
Okay,
31, which says a 400-word limit.
okay,
Again, I do think that the written comments are different than verbal comments at a public meeting.
okay.
And I worry that 400, which is about the
Yeah, no,
size of a small opinion
Yeah,
piece,
it's not much.
it might not be enough words for somebody. I mean, somebody may have real
Yeah.
technical information and want to write 10 pages. And again, we don't have to read it. We're not obliged to read it. We can start to read it and say, I don't understand this, or I think this is awful. But I do think, I hate to limit citizen participation to 400 words.
Are they limited today on the online form?
I think it says it, I don't know in actuality,
Yeah.
if it actually does that, and I don't know. If you sent
Yeah.
a test email through that, if you did that, I did that.
Yeah.
I don't know if anybody got like test comment 2 weeks ago.
Not if it said test comment.
Okay, yeah, and I think that's what it said, because
Yeah.
I think you were gonna submit one and then
Oh,
I submitted one.
I entirely forgot mine,
Oh,
but you didn't.
I
You were
did.
good.
I did, so if you didn't get that, then
Yeah,
we can look at how that
how that works.
works out.
Okay.
But I would worry about limiting,
Yeah.
comments from, the public. I guess I just think they should have that chance to input even
but
longer.
we do have the 3 minute.
Yes,
Yeah,
that's
3 minute,
perfectly
yeah.
fine. Although I probably have a comment about that, which is, I might prefer, I think it should be the same for everybody. However, when there's, two people that come to comment or only a single person, I think the chair should be allowed to say, we don't have very many commenters. If you'd like to take up to 5 minutes, you can. And then nobody else could take longer than that, but just my kind of preference.
We've done
See what
that
you
in
think.
some meetings. Yeah.
Yeah, we've done it before.
I just did a quick Google search. Take it for what it's worth. It says average 3-minute speech is 390 to 450
Yeah.
words.
Yeah, that's where we keep it.
But I think if someone's gonna give a presentation or where we've had people bring packets before, I don't want 3 minutes. I want a full presentation where they submit it as a discussion item to the planning commission to give us time to review
That's
the
kind of,
information they've given us.
that's a different topic.
Yeah, and so I
Yeah.
think if they're doing public comment and bringing that, I don't think that's the place to do that.
Yeah,
But we can encourage it, we can encourage that public comment.
Yeah.
Or those presentations to be submitted different than
Yes.
a 400-word limit form or a 3-minute
Yeah.
speech at public,
And,
at citizens to be heard.
and maybe my point was a little bit different. I'm fine with saying you get this many minutes to make a presentation. But I do think a written thing, not, written and handed out at the meeting, but a written thing that you send in as a comment shouldn't be limited to the same amount as your verbal presentation.
And I think you just submit that as an email instead.
That's right.
or-
Yeah.
Yes,
Rather than,
That's the,
yes, I agree.
the only point I'd have to make is if you get a 50-page document, nobody's gonna read
Yeah,
it.
well, exactly. And so maybe you can say, some higher number of words, because I think maybe there is a limit. Somebody decides they'll send you a book.
Yeah,
Though I don't think it's usually gonna be a problem.
Could test this one.
I also think there's ways that we can educate the community to submit that feedback in different ways to help us, like.
Yeah.
Getting them to understand, if you want your comments in the packet, these are, and I've used the city of Moab before, like, they're great at posting things on social media as far as like filling out questionnaires and stuff. I think that's a great resource to get us some of that feedback as well, without having to make people feel like we're not listening to them or we're cutting them off at a certain time frame. I think there's other ways, not necessarily limited to this, that we can work with the community to still get the feedback that they want to provide us too. Just my thoughts on that.
Sarah, you had a comment?
I was gonna ask Andrew, what is customary in other counties?
I'd have to check because typically, most places people come and make their public comments. I'm not sure what places have online portals for submittal of public comment as an online portal. When that occurred or whatever, I do know that previously the online submittals in the portal were going to an employee who's no longer a county employee. So tried to change that so that it does come through. So I got the comment, but we'll see if we can get that so that it's worked out to where it goes out to the planning commission members.
So I guess that, for me, I just had questions about V8 and I guess it's I've now written right across it, V12 or whatever it is, open comments, limited to 3 minutes. I think we should consider giving the chair that and maybe extending the amount of words people can do.
Yeah, I sent
V
it
is
and I sent
Latin
an
for
email.
5, right?
What's that?
V is Latin for 5, did you?
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Yeah, I think that, yes, V, that's true. Those aren't Roman numerals.
That would then make 8.
Not that next part, it's a little
Yeah,
different.
Roman and Arabic, good stuff.
There we go.
Yeah, I guess we could do some kind of a note in there.
I sent an email to Dana, OB, and
That'd be
attached
great.
you, so.
You know, the thing about the 400 words is we could give the commenters a 400 word target, let them go further. It's just, in the interest of time, if they go too, like I said, too long, it's not gonna get read.
And I think if you're gonna be consistent, if they're gonna submit public comment, it should be somewhat consistent for if they were standing in front of us.
Yeah,
And then if there's more that they want to include, send it in an email to planning and zoning, or if they have information.
it's actually a should not exceed in there. It doesn't say it can't exceed.
Cause there's other ways to submit that
The
information.
difference between should not and.
And there shall, but you absolutely. Now that I know there's no limit on.
Yeah.
But
Oh, apparently
these-
there's none today.
limiting them to information they provide to planning. This is a guideline for us to be able to keep public hearings and meetings moving in an efficient manner.
That's true.
If they want to submit more information, or if they have something else they want to say, they can go to a county commission meeting and say something totally different in the 3
Sure.
minutes that they have there. But if they have a 10-page document on a landscaping ordinance that we have never seen, I want time to review that. And I want a discussion on that. And I think that needs to be submitted through the proper channels, not.
Yeah, there's a comment in here. Yeah.
Again, I, the way I read this, written comments should not exceed. I think that's what I'm talking about, whatever email you send to the planning commissioners. I think it should be allowed to exceed that. And some people will send in a written comment And then they'll come and say, God, I've only got 3 minutes, I'm gonna do this section of it. If they're real interested in the topic, I've done it myself. Not to talk to the planning commission, of course.
Well, we don't actually have a recommended action on that one, other than Obie's not happy with 400. What would your recommendation?
I would just say, I would have I would not probably say anything about written comments in terms of length. I bet you the county commission doesn't. But we're gonna find that
We'll find
out,
out.
and I don't know why we should be more strict on public participation than the county commission. I just
Is
don't
it,
understand why. I don't think someone's gonna send you 50 pages. I've never seen it when we haven't had limits on it. Before you'll get a page or page and a half or two,
Right,
but not really gigantically long, I think. But you cannot read a single spaced, 2.5 page, letter. I can't. I can hardly get through one page. First, I'm nervous and I don't want to read it, so I try to remember, anyway. That's my problem.
is it a thing about printing paper for a packet? Like if it's about that, it's like,
We did receive some that were like 15 pages of comment plus drafts.
yeah,
Yeah.
but I'm just saying like, okay, if they're gonna be long, it's gonna be an email. And if it's gonna be,
Yeah.
you know, just
So-
because of practical, I
We're-
feel like
we're-
this is a practical.
Yeah, we want to move away
Yeah.
from people just individually emailing individual planning commission members, but that it should go to the whole commission. And so that's why we don't have, like, some people said, well, we want the planning commission members' emails on the planning website. It's like, no, we're not gonna do that.
Yeah.
Because it needs to go to everybody, and so we had this thing before, a portal before, that had no limitations on what it was. Like I said, we've had some that have been 15 pages long in the public comment section. And so there has to be this thing where you can regulate time, manner, and place, but not content of constitutionally protected non-commercial free speech, right? And so then there was this thing of, well, okay, if we give this person 3 minutes here at the meeting, but somebody else can do a half an hour, 45-minute document and submit that. Is that equal or not? But for the most part, when people are making comments to the planning commission, it's gonna be on a public hearing item. And then, those are notified ahead of the meeting date. So that's why we have the thing where it's like, okay, if you want this submitted with the packet, you have to have it in by Wednesday, 5 o'clock on Wednesday before. And I have received some email comments, like during the meeting after that item has already passed. So it's one of those things that we looked at, and we're like, okay, well, how do we deal with someone who's submitting a huge document for review, and if that's.
I'd only say that, at least from any comments that I've gotten through the planning commission in all my years, I've never had a large document. So I've never had what I would consider a large document of printed material that's from any citizen.
Yeah, I passed those out.
Yeah, but that was several comments to get up to that many
Oh,
pages.
no.
There was a 15 pager by one person.
So I can think of when Kate Murphy brought that presentation for the landscaping ordinance.
Yeah.
Phenomenal piece of
Yes.
information, right?
Absolutely.
But it was many
Scheduled.
pages
it's massive.
and it didn't give us an opportunity to be able to
Yeah.
look through it.
Great.
And then I can't remember his name, the man who came for the water preservation.
Oh, yeah,
John Whiteside.
Yes,
yeah.
also
He
super
brought a book.
helpful information, but it was a book. And then when we were doing the city water tank the first
Mhm.
time, and they brought, I can't remember what his name was either. But all of us, none of us had seen that patent before. None of us had heard about the patent before. There was a lot of information that came with that too. There's been several instances, and I think they're all super helpful. But what would have been more helpful, I think, for us as a commission, had that information gone to the planning department to be put on as a discussion item or a presentation on the agenda. So for one, we got that information ahead of time. And then it became an active discussion where we could ask questions because we can't ask questions during public comment. So I mean, there's been times where we've had big packets come through, and I wish I would have had more time rather than them standing here presenting it to us in a quick summary, because that maybe would have changed my vote or my perspective on it, having it ahead of time.
Yeah, I don't know how to solve that. If somebody walks in with a book and it's great information in a hearing.
Right.
and
I think
not-
Megan-
haven't seen
I
it
kept
before.
saying the solution is to put it as a discussion item.
Well, and I think that's where us as a body can work to educate the community better. We know that we have this topic coming before that's a hot topic, whatever it may be. Put it out on social media or, post it that if you're wanting to provide information, or if we're having a workshop on a land use code update, provide your information to the planning director before Wednesday at 5 PM. So that way on Monday, when we have this workshop,
I honestly wonder when we have a workshop on land use code, how many people would even be interested in reading that?
and that's honestly,
That's a
I
problem.
will say,
You will be surprised.
the stuff that the city's been posting on their social media, like they just put out a survey for the ball fields.
Hmm.
I can't say that I pay enough attention to what's going on the city agendas to think about, oh, I need to be at this meeting to hear what they have to say. But if I see on my Facebook and Instagram thread, hey, Moab City has posted this poll gathering information on what they would like to see happen with this park, I'm gonna take 5 minutes and scroll through that and fill that out and submit it. And you can include public comment on those too. It's a great way to get community feedback. And it gives you an extended period of time to be able to do that too.
Yeah,
So I'm not saying that's the solution, but I don't want us to have a public hearing where we are saying, well, you got 5 minutes, but someone walked in and now we've got to move on, so you only get 3. I don't think that's fair. For
Well,
the sake
that's
of
the-
consistency, I think it's okay to say this, as
That's the
long
objective.
as we're allowing people to use other ways of communicating to get their opinions heard. And like you've said before, if people want to make a comment, they're gonna make the time to make the comment.
yeah, I don't know the solution. I think the 3 minutes is kind of fixed, but the written, I agree, that could go longer. I don't know how to encourage people to do it in a way that actually will give us time to review it. Or the
Well-
book's not gonna get ready.
But we do kind of have that now rule that, it's gonna get in the packet if it's in
Yeah.
at a certain time.
Yeah,
And I think that's fair
I think
too.
that just
Yeah.
fine. I just don't wanna limit it to 4 words.
Yeah.
I think you have to be able to set some expectations for people to know that
Yep.
if you want us to hear these prior to,
yeah,
we should be able to have that extra time to do so.
Yeah.
To get the packet out to the public in a timely manner as well. It's a two-way street.
I'm gonna grade your paper by Monday.
Yeah.
You better have it by Wednesday. That's the teacher in me.
Hopefully.
Yep.
That's not a far-fetched thing to ask.
Yeah.
You want your opinion heard, or you want this information on an agenda. Everyone else has to put their agenda items on as a field for consideration.
well, so what are we talking, what are we saying here? We've already got written comments should not exceed 400 words. And I think there's a number of people in here who would be inclined to not limit the written part and let us limit that ourselves when we review
And
it.
it's up, yeah, that's up to you, so.
And the second is, I would like the chair to be able to set the time that it's got consistent for everybody. Unless, of course, they're on the agenda to make a presentation, that's a different
And
thing.
then we also have people make multiple public comments where they say, okay, this is on this topic. this is on this one, which may be a different agenda item, or if they just wanna do public comment, under the public comment section, they want to address several topics. Do they get 3 minutes for each topic they want to address, or?
Well, again, I believe the county commission allows you to speak on each topic if it were a public hearing, but.
If it was
If it's citizen to be heard, you get one shot.
Yeah.
I think that's
I
fine.
would guess that's the way we would do it too. You have a different time to speak during a public hearing than you do as a citizen to be heard. So I think that makes sense. Well, so I guess if you could just strike the 400 words. And leave the rest not red line and so on.
Yeah.
And then the spoken comment limited to 3 minutes per person, in person, real time. Telecommunications applied uniformly. Is there anything in there that would keep the chair from waiving that requirement if in fact we had one person show up? So then I think it'll be to that point, the chair could just waive that requirement.
Yeah.
May have.
So you might not want to do a half hour.
Yeah, that becomes a problem. We've had that problem here.
Unless they bring dinner or something,
Yeah, there you
some
go.
sandwiches.
All right, can we move on then? Opie, did you have anything else? in the
No,
slides?
I'm good, and I'm good for many pages.
Everybody okay? with
Yeah,
that?
so that's the summary thing, so if we just wanna go up to page 37
Okay.
and start the bylaws from there. Again, where we're just on page 37, where we're just identifying that when we say planning commission, it's Marion County Planning Commission, and county commission is the Marion County Commission. And then add again the planning commission before those areas where that seems to be like what we're meeting is planning commission versus county commission. The election, again, a lot of this stuff is gonna be, I think that we've already talked about, because you have to have consistency between the bylaws and the ordinance.
And I remember last time going through this, we caught a number of the commissions where we wanted to add planning, and it looks like you've caught those. I went through it today and didn't see anything.
Things. Let's see, and so again, the green is the only thing that's changed from the last time we talked. Go to page 40 at the top, just stating that we have compliance with the Open and Public Meetings Act, and that's a question that we're gonna have to talk with the attorneys about, because in Roman numeral 5, paragraph numeral 5, so V5, we have the special meetings, workshops, and field trips. But then we also have to make sure that those comply with the Open and Public Meetings Act. So they have to be posted, an agenda, and it's probably something that we drive to a site individually. So it's not like, oh, the planning commission got a van and everybody jumped in there and then, we're deliberating without the applicant in the van or something, I don't know. But we just want to make sure that if we do have a special meeting, that they comply with the Public Meetings Act. Written comment, I'll strike the 400 words from there.
Can I say something, just on V5, on the second line, it just says the Grand. Oh, that is the Grand County Commission, not the Grand County Planning.
Yeah, that should be.
Which one is?
Well, I think it
It's
could
planning
be
commission.
the fall of, I don't know, we've had workshops with the Grand County Commission that
Yeah.
they've called.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah,
I
so
assume
Yeah.
the
that's what you're talking-
chairperson. And I could put the chairperson of the planning commission, or if the county commission
Yeah.
says, hey, we want to go check this out. Good point. And then, under B11, just that table that we talked about before with depending upon it.
Yep.
How many members are seated, and then that determines the whole, that determines what the vote needs to be.
That clarifies it about as well as,
And then in the 12th, on the motion, and this is for Lisa, you need to identify who made the motion, who made the second, what you're doing in the minutes and say what this is required by state law. And then, if Lisa, if you have like a question about, okay, who voted what, and you know, cause they're A and A, whatever. And then, you can ask the chair to do a roll call vote. But you do have to identify in there, so you can't just say like 4 in favor, 3 opposed. You have to actually identify those, which you do.
recorded meetings help that a lot.
But that's it. I guess are we back on YouTube or?
Yes, we are.
Okay, so in V14, this is where it says that you've got the limit of the 3 minutes. And it says that the chairperson shall apply the limit uniformly. Are you wanting that?
I just get rid of,
then?
I get rid of limited. Whether given by a person, you know, in person or in real-time communication, the chair shall apply the limit uniformly. That gives the chair to, so, spoken comments at a public hearing during a general public comment period is limited. Whether given in person or by real-time communication, the chairperson shall apply the limit or a limit.
So what you're
Maybe it
saying
needs
is
more.
take the 3 minutes out of it.
Why would we take that out? Then people don't know what to expect.
Yeah.
They don't know how much to.
Yeah, maybe we should do it. Maybe it should have 3 minutes and then the chair can,
And we can have that, we can have
can
that.
apply uniformly.
I think it's.
Chairperson shall apply the limit uniformly unless special circumstances.
Well, you even
Well,
need that,
even-
like, chairperson shall apply the limit, are you required?
So it's just, if somebody came and gave that 3 minutes, and then you say somebody else comes and it's like, they can have 6 minutes.
Right.
And then the first person's like, wait, why did I only get 3 when the other person gets 6? So
I
we can
think
just
this
have
is-
uniformly unless
I think it's
special
a-
conditions or something like that.
Even the way it is, you know, I think if we had one person show up, we can
Right.
give them 5 or 10 minutes.
Yeah.
Even the way it's
Do we
written,
even
that would
need
allow
to-
us to do that.
Yeah, do we even need to add a
Oh,
description
yeah.
to that, or can it just
Chairperson.
be?
I think I would, so that it's all uniform unless there's some special circumstance where you only got one person here and you want to
Right.
hear from this expert on a certain item, so I think we should probably add that in, but
Okay.
again, it'll be reviewed too.
Okay, go ahead and make the change. We'll read it next week. You get to
More
pick
power,
another,
Chair.
you get to pick another color.
That's exactly what I was thinking, like, okay, red, blue, green, what do we have that's.
That's terrible.
Don't make it.
A little rainbow by the end.
Yeah. Let's see, I think most of that stays the same, just some changes to, Commissioner. Kimberly has suggested instead of actually calling out like land use code 8.1.3 because. That'll change here in a couple months to, chapter 2, right? And so instead we just say land use code versus actually calling out the land use code.
Made that change in a couple places.
Yeah, we still have it with the state code. That there may be times that we have to update the state code.
Can you just say Utah code as amended? Would that not work?
I can check with them and see what they say.
As amended to date or whatever they say. Legal term they use.
It's a lot of updates in here. I think you've done a good job of weaving these in.
Thank you. We've got the, just planning commission for planning commission. Um. So we've got this discussion with the ex parte on page 44.
And I can tell you how I would probably change it. And somehow I think we maybe eliminated part of C before, but I would say just fine for part A. And for part, and in part A, it says, you know, let's see, let me just do this. The planning commissioners shall not engage in ex parte communications as defined in section B. And then you excuse communications kind of at the meeting, which I think is just great. For the purposes of the, now I'm into B. For the purposes of the planning commission, ex parte communications include any communications with an interested party concerning the merits of a pending application outside of a public meeting and prior to the planning commission's final decision. I get rid of the ex parte communication, the second definition of it. But right there, prior to the planning commission's final decision, I would put C right on into it, still part of B, by dropping for the purposes of the planning commission, just say interested parties shall mean applicants, representatives, investors, business partners, or any other party having a financial interest financial association with the land use application. County staff are not interested parties.
I
And
mean, we
then,
have interest, but we're not. We have interest, but we're not interested.
that's exactly right. So I would get rid of C and just, because you've already said at one point for the purpose of the planning commission policy up
So-
above.
Combine B and C
Yeah.
together and take out the letter.
Exactly. Take out the second definition of ex parte, and then any ex parte communication or information unsolicited or otherwise shall be disclosed in a public meeting. I would prefer that. And it gets rid of C, and then of course you have to renumber everything else.
No objections.
That's because Randy's not here. He'd go right after.
No, I think it makes it more clear.
No, he wouldn't. He's a good person. We have a good time.
Actually, D and F could be combined too, couldn't
D, E, and F,
D is in Delta, F is in,
Father. Yeah.
you know,
and leave E as a standalone.
yeah.
Okay.
Really, D and F kind of say the same thing.
Oh. Ah. Yeah.
I'm sure you were gonna point that out in just a minute. Okay?
You know something? Some things slip your mind entirely. That's interesting, yes.
Yeah, it's
Oh, yes,
like
absolutely, yes. Yes.
Good
And
flag.
you can get rid of the,
Appeals
First
of
one.
land use decision.
yep,
You can't just be like anybody who says, oh, I want to appeal this decision. You have to be an interested party, so you have to be
Yeah.
like, and that's defined by state code. So it's not just like anybody can walk in off the street and appeal a decision, because otherwise you could just have continuous appeals.
Some affected by the decision.
Exactly. Mhm.
so you're getting rid of the current D.
Yeah, I think that,
Because the last one's really good about, you should say who it's about, who it's with, et cetera.
you know,
Okay, makes sense.
Yep. Then that's just talked about, if you had a quorum that was meeting outside of the meeting and they said how to vote on something.
Yes.
It'd be,
And I would not want to complicate things here, but the other thing that sometimes is mentioned about ex parte, is it ex parte that that call also mentions legal matters?
Oh, so if you're
Seems that
talking to, I
if
think
there were
that's
this-
probably under the county staff.
Yeah,
Is that
no,
what-
this is just, it seems that you're not supposed to have kind of communication about things that are law things. Also, I think he has something, you might look at that little.
Yeah, cause I know that in that section, it talks
Yeah.
about like a jury, you can't, like as a jury, you
Yeah.
can't go out.
Yeah, and I don't
do your own
know.
investigations or decide outside of the courtroom
Yeah.
how the jury's gonna vote.
Yeah.
And he talks about that stuff, but
Yeah.
I'll double check.
Yeah,
that.
it might not be necessary, so it sounds like a very unlikely thing to happen.
And again, there's also, if you find errors, which I'm sure there's plenty, just
Yeah,
let me know.
Yeah. It's much better to do it early.
Yeah, it's
Then
it's
like-
like in the middle of a meeting, hey,
Yes.
this code says this. No,
Yeah.
okay. Because, so these are bylaws, right? So.
Yeah.
They don't have the 407 ordinance, it's
No.
just by resolution that's adopted. And so that's why you have where you can waive or suspend rules, so that gives you that authority, so I would suppose that with that. Ability to waive or suspend rules, page 46 at the bottom, there, that gives you the authority.
I kind of don't want to get into it, but it did happen where we booted somebody off because they didn't show up for 3 meetings.
Yeah,
It's just kind of funny, it says that unexcused absences. And it's like, what qualifies an excused absence, you know?
I kind of think hospital maybe,
Or you-
but I really think that you should first, in case I can't make my hiking when I see if I can get an excuse.
Yeah, so that's,
We just-
if you let somebody know ahead of time, but if you're just not showing up and nobody
Yeah.
knows anything.
We did have somebody that just stopped showing up.
Yeah.
It is a thing that happened and it was like, I mean, does that actually mean the commission removes them or like, it was kind of vague in that, it's like, oh. Do we written notice to the commission? Is that kind of like,
The doctors know.
well, no, it's like.
Yeah, no,
Unexcused
No, I know.
consecutive meeting may be cause for written notification that the member's position will be vacated.
Yeah,
Like, I remember the last time it happened, we were like, hey, commission, this has happened. They
Yeah.
deleted them off. I don't know. It has happened, so. So the reason I mention it.
yeah.
Do we have anything
and
else?
no, because that's.
I don't, that's
the
either.
previous one.
I guess we'll leave it vague.
It probably happens rarely enough, but
Yeah.
Usually people will resign if it's like, oh, I've got a job and I can't make the meetings anymore,
Yeah.
and they'll send in their resignation, so. You can always ask for the resignation prior to.
Andrew, I want to thank you personally for organizing
Yeah.
that as well as you did.
These bylaws are better than they were, more complete, a lot of work.
And then I think too, with everything going from like what state code says and then. Article land use code.
Yep.
And then also bylaws, and because there's a lot of things that were like. Wait, it says this and this one, but it says that and that one, so.
Yeah.
All right.
And then I guess the question would be. Do you want me to send these back out to you? Do you want to have, we only have to have a public hearing on the land use code. Robert's rules is just an aid, the other stuff is just what you do every year. Is just aid, and then the bylaws are by resolution, so I don't necessarily need a public hearing. But I'm happy to do whatever you would like, if you want to have another look-see. And then say, okay, yeah, we've got this how we want it, and then
We've got
direct staff
couple revs here. I'm
Yeah, I
happy
think
with
that-
you on the public hearing.
Because at the public hearing, we can always say,
Yeah.
hey, Andrew, you didn't get this right, I want it this way, so that way, and you
Yeah.
can do that at the public.
He's gonna have one update for us.
Are you gonna be here at the next meeting?
I do not believe so, but I've got one update that I'm supposed to write from the new bylaws into this other thing.
Yeah,
So the question would be then, do we want to bump it from the next meeting, which would be the second Monday in September?
That's Labor Day, isn't it? No.
That's seventh, yeah, so seventh is Labor Day, 14th is the
Do we
next.
have a meeting on Labor Day? No.
Point.
Or do you just want
It's just First and third for the county commission, we're second and fourth,
Oh, yeah.
14th and 28th, so if you're not gonna be here on the 14th.
Because there's a.
well, it's up to you.
Yeah, it's a great question. I have to go home and look at my calendar, which I didn't bring. The first one would be the 14th. I might even be able to make it by Zoom.
And if you want to look at your calendar and let everybody know, hey, you're
I
gonna
will.
be
I-
here,
I-
you can zoom in or whatever. If you're comfortable just having the public hearing, then we can post that, we still have.
Since you guys set the agenda, what I'll do is tell you which one works for me, if it's okay to set it
Yeah,
differently. I don't have to be here,
Yeah,
but it'd be nice.
so just
there's
doesn't know.
really not a whole lot of controversy left there.
I don't
Not a
think
lot
there
of
is.
discussion today.
We fought it out so hard, no. It's
The land use
serious.
administrator.
Well, it's really,
Yeah.
I really think it's nice.
Well. So, we're still adopting the land use code amendments, so then we have to bring it back. The change, if you want to change back to where the planning commission reviews preliminary plans.
Yeah, I don't think there'll be much motivation to do that if we vote on it as is, so that's my opinion.
We're good either way, whatever you want to do.
You know, why don't we do everything but section 8 in the next meeting?
Yeah.
And then we can do the public hearing when OB is back.
And 6 which is also the HUD assisted rent, okay? You know, it's section 8, no.
Yeah, there you go.
But it's also the only one that requires a public hearing.
Yeah. So
The
we'll-
bylaws are by resolution.
So we'll kind of clean house in the next one by getting through the bylaws and the other changes, and then we'll do the land use code section in the second meeting in September. Everybody okay?
Yep, that works.
Okay, sounds good. We have our plan.
So just a point of clarification for next meeting on September 14th, we'll do one more workshop. Did I hear that correctly?
Not another workshop.
Yeah, I think we can approve by resolution,
Okay,
but then it would be the 28th would be the public hearing
Yeah,
on
I
the
got
land
that.
use conversion.
Okay,
And no,
we have anything scheduled for the next meeting?
I think we can have the land use. The Sunrise Engineering come talk about land use code.
Okay.
It's on my future
Well, that'd be good.
consideration.
All
On
right.
the 14th.
Sounds
Yes.
good. Any other future considerations? See,
Well,
I did want you to, I did,
You just
wanted-
about got jumped on with a
I
motion to
know.
do something
I
else.
was thinking, thinking about that ag protections ordinance, but if
Yeah.
they just want to embed it in the land use code update and then bring it to however you guys want to, I don't want to do something, pass it and then have to
Yeah,
modify in the land use code update. So whatever is easiest. And then we can pile through it. Once maybe Sunrise brings it, however you want to do it. But I'm gonna,
probably
keep
easier to
trying.
consolidate it, wouldn't it?
yeah, absolutely.
Why don't we just do that?
Okay. That'd be great.
I have a question about data centers. Which is just, so again, I worry about the moratorium eventually smashing. And yes, you may be able to do another 6 months moratorium. I don't know a lot about that, Andrew. But I'm not sure the state always approves them.
So
Or
you,
is it-
you can do it for, extenuating circumstances or something.
Yes.
With the, state legislature saying that they have an ordinance that they'll be doing during the session from end of January through March. That can be a reason why we continue it on. So I think we're good through the end of the year, but then before that, they don't need to have a re-up based off of.
Not having known what they're
The
gonna say.
legislature's gonna change all that.
And it seems pretty sure thing.
So the legislature.
No, that we would know that we would be able to get a moratorium on
Oh,
that.
yeah, yeah, it's not, you don't have to do like a request from the legislature, it's you say. Due to these things, we're extending this moratorium, but, Grant County's not alone.
Mhm.
There's a lot of places, Springville just, paused, there's a few other places up in Utah County have also, like said, okay, we need way more time to work on this, so.
Weren't we waiting for a copy of the ordinance from Washington County? I thought that's
We
where
have
we
that.
left that.
We have that, and I have that, and I mean, that's one thing that. The Forbes said, this is what Washington County has, and I actually changed it so that it says Grant County. Everywhere it says Washington County, but.
Well, if the state's gonna legislate
Yeah.
anyway, we might as well.
I also think we should bring that question to Sunrise too, because maybe they're working on other ones that would. If we look at Washington's and kind of see,
I think if the state kind of feels so good.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Maybe we don't have to do it.
And-
maybe that's like with the ag
There
thing,
is,
just kind of merge them all together.
there's UAC is that first. First we had the 8th, 9th, and 10th of September, and they're gonna be talking about. Data centers at their conference, and so should have more information.
We probably have enough to roll enough, the snowball's getting big enough, I
Yeah.
guess,
Oh,
that
yeah,
it makes sense for us to just.
yeah, it's all over the place.
Yeah,
And I think it would be easy for us to tell Sunrise, this is our end goal for something like this, or this is what we would like to see, and have them help us build something.
yeah, or just wait until we get the
Right.
legislator to do their thing and then fill in whatever gaps.
Right,
Oh,
yeah,
well-
yeah, take that
Yeah.
and then,
In what they do lots of times is then. So, legislature that decides, we're gonna do this and this and this, right? And it becomes law, and
Yeah.
it may become law in March or April or May or whenever. But oftentimes, well, wait until Salt Lake County does theirs, right? Cause they've got like a whole host of attorneys that are there chomping at the bit, and they probably are heavily involved in writing.
Leverage what they do.
Yeah, yeah, and then just say, okay, I mean, that's what they did with Provo's sexually oriented business thing. They went to the state Supreme Court and got a ruling on it, maybe even farther than that, but they went to the state Supreme Court, got the ruling. Provo wrote theirs, and then everybody just copied Provo's because it had already been through court,
Yeah.
and you knew it complied with whatever the
Yeah, that
state
makes sense.
Supreme
yeah,
Court
let's.
said.
let's do it.
We don't need to be first.
I think that is just such a hot topic and could get messy in so many different ways. And if there's other people dealing with legal, let them fight those
Yeah.
battles and then
Yeah,
work smarter, not harder.
good conversation. Anything else? If not, I'll entertain a motion to adjourn.
So,
Bad.
Aaron seconded.
Sure. I might rescind. that.
his hand.
Well,
Oh,
yeah, our dynamic
Do
duo.
we have a unanimous yes?
Oh, yeah.
I read out.
Everybody's walking out the door, Jerry.
Yeah.
That's all.